Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Coffee and
Coco.
Yeah, we have a special guest tonight, our new pastor, Father Camilo. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
this
you.
This is, to be transparent with everyone, this is the second time we're doing this. Just because someone, I'm not sure who, Jos.
Definitely wasn't
might
me.
be on you. No, but it's definitely on me. The audio didn't work the first time, so this is our second time going through this. So we're just very excited to actually have an episode out with Father Camilo. So very excited to welcome you and everything.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
How does it feel?
Good. Thank you, everyone. It's almost like I want to just, I just learned a few minutes ago that we didn't had an issue with the audio, and then we have to go through it again.
Yeah.
So I hope that it's like as good as the first one. So
we had such good content.
Yes.
But you know what? Like, that's good because maybe the Holy Spirit was like, oh, I think you guys missed something. So,
probably.
Yeah.
You never know.
And we wrote down the question, so who knows?
Okay. Very good.
So, Father Camilo, I think my first question for you is, how do you feel at home now? Like you're home. And I mean home because this was your first home when you came, and this is your home again now. How do you feel?
My first home when I came, yes. Well, I have to let you know first that 15 years ago I used to live in this, what today is the rectory. 15 years ago was something called the Emmaus House. Mm-hmm. Then something like was the Newman Center, mm-hmm. and it was the discernment house for international seminarians who were mm-hmm. coming to be part of the Archdiocese of Newark. So I was part of that program 15 years ago. When I came, I lived here and I started at Rutgers. So for a year, the ESL program. But it's good to be back. It's one of the first things that I did when I walked into the door. It was like, I want to go and check my old room at the third floor. And it was just as I left it, you know, the bed against the wall. And so that definitely was something that, you know, it touched my heart, mm-hmm. and it was a moment of connections. Like, I'm back home.
Yeah.
But I feel good. Yes, it has been interesting moving, living between buses and moving mm-hmm. buses in this intense heat of August in the city of Newark, and humidity.
Yeah.
Rain.
Flooding.
all the above, but fun. I really, one of the things I was talking to you, is I love new beginnings, and this has been something that it really makes me excited mm-hmm. of the, a new beginning and a new experience. So
yeah, awesome. So I know that you were at different parishes with some a little diverse more than others. And now you're, like, in the hub of diversity of New Jersey. And I think of, like, I don't know. I'm very biased. I went to school here. I think of the world. Because Rutgers has been 17 years in a row the number one most diverse school in the States.
Yes, is it right?
And I think that, like, of the States, then it should be the world, really, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So how do you feel serving such a multicultural community now?
Well, definitely I think that this is the richness of the universal mm-hmm. church. That's the reason we're Catholic.
Yeah.
The Catholicity of who we are as a faith, as a church, is the diversity. And when you think about, I had a moment at the 9 a.m. Mass, like my first weekend, when I saw in such a small group all the diversity, mm-hmm. all the faces, all mm-hmm. the, you can even hear the accents, the way people interact. Yeah. It's such a richness, and I think of Pentecost, mm-hmm. the beginning of the church. Mm-hmm. Like when Peter goes out after he's imbued by the Spirit and goes and address the crowds. Mm-hmm. They were people from Greece, they were Greeks, they were people from Rome, they were people mm-hmm. from Thessalonica, they were people from all over. That's the account of Pentecost, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. and how they all were embedded by one language, the language of love, the Holy Spirit. And so one of the things, misunderstandings of us Catholics has been like, there are two concepts that we think often that they are the same, but they're not. One is unity, and the other is uniformity. And then definitely it's something different. They sound very similar, but unity requires, diversity.
Yeah.
Is when they're different things into one thing, and uniformity is like everything the same.
Everything's-
The gospel invites us to unity, not to uniformity. So that's the diversity. It's the tapestry of faces and experiences of God and all that.
Yeah. How boring would the world be if everyone was the same?
Yeah.
Like the exact same carbon copy.
Correct. Yeah.
And even like in today's daily mass, Father, I saw Anglico, African American, I'm Latina, and I saw this and there were like homeless people coming in and out of the parish as well.
Yes.
And this is like on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And I just think that's one of the things that I love about the parish here. I mean, I love the community here, and it's just so exciting to know that you're serving. Like I was talking to Father earlier about how we have, the program, the CCD program in both languages, because I'm sure they do that in many parishes, but just because of the great need that there is here. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see how it'll blossom and to see how the talents that you've accumulated through your priesthood you'll put into work here.
We are blessed in the diocese we are. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that in the Archdiocese of Newark, every Sunday, the Eucharist is celebrated, I think, in 26 languages.
Wow.
Imagine the richness that we have as a church. Like, we are part of this historical moment in which, like, transformation, and there is like unity, and there is inclusiveness, and all this is fire. I think it's nothing else but passion and future. That's what I say sometimes to people who are so afraid of change, and people who are afraid of different cultures. Say, don't be afraid. This is the richness. This is great. This is God doing His work in the world and culture. And these days we have been just so threatened by the idea of multiculturalism and all that, and it's something that I hope that we can, have something to say as a church, strongly to say we are different, we are united in the diversity, and not only cultural diversity, but in ways people experience God, faith, lifestyles.
Absolutely.
I think that's key as we grow as Christians.
We're all children of God, and I think that that's something really, really important to remember. It's not just it's not just the X or whatever, right, that are children of God. We're all God's children. We're all God's creation.
And not even that. It's not that we're only the children of God. We are the beloved child. And I always remember is Jesus. In the two episodes in the gospel, but mostly when he's baptized, you're my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. And in the transfiguration, this is my beloved son, listen to him. And imagine the experience of each one of us, and those words weren't only for Jesus. Is that word and affirmation when somebody says to you, I love you, I'm with you. And, is God telling you through others, you're my beloved. And when you have the experience of being beloved and wanted, then you share something good, then it becomes sense, the whole idea of love one another as I have loved you, which is the best legacy that Jesus left us the night before he was executed. And so I know, like, I'm talking too much.
No.
But
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, that's awesome to hear, because like we're so diverse in this parish, but one of the great things is that it feels like a family, it feels like a community, like we love each other, we're there to support each other, especially in the times of pandemic and crisis, like looking out for the families that need the help or support and all that. And you said something during our first recording, being the voice for the voiceless. And I think that's so important, because like we have people from all walks of life, from all experiences. And so like for them to come into a church, not only feel welcomed, but to feel loved and received and to feel like they have a voice here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel like that's something that unfortunately you don't find in a lot of churches, but praise
Right.
God that they find it here.
Yes.
You know, so
yes.
that's really beautiful.
That's important, and that's one of my visions. And
Yeah.
so I was talking, like, in my first weekend, I said, like, everyone is welcomed and around the Lord's table, and that's for me is a prayer. It's not even my vision. It's not even I want my church to be like this. It's
Yeah.
not my church. It's not my parish. It's I'm coming along to serve and to minister with all of you, and it is Christ who invites us. It's the mission of Christ. I'm not here accomplishing the mission, my personal mission,
Yeah.
or the mission of the cardinal. Yes, but we all are accomplishing the mission of Christ. So that's important.
Yeah. So, Joss, I know one of the questions we had was what
Why?
lessons, what experiences from
Who am I? Like,
yeah, who are you? Like, but like definitely like let's start with that one. Like, who are you? Like, what is your story? You come from Colombia. You know, I know a lot of the parishioners maybe didn't make it to the first mass you were here, but they were here this past weekend. But do you want to give like a quick like summary of who you are, where you come from?
Sure. I just like that way to introduce myself, like I did it the first weekend. You know, I am Camilo. I am your brother, your friend, your priest, your companion in this journey. And I really see myself like that. I am 30 years old, was born in Colombia, came to the United States 15 years ago, and I have been 10 years ordained, and I lived here, and then I was sent to Seton Hall to finish my theology. I was ordained at the Basilica, at the Sacred Heart Cathedral Basilica, and I have had 3 assignments previous to this one. The first one was in St. Thomas in Bloomfield, and the second one was Montclair, St. Cassian's in Upper Montclair, which was a very special place, you know, for me. Which I learned about the people of God, the teachings of the council, Romero, El Salvador, missions, people committed with the Vietnamese families since the 1970s, people who worked in, you know, Montclair was the first group of people in the Archdiocese who worked with people with AIDS,
Oh, wow.
welcoming them. So it really, I received a strong tradition from all of them, and that really captured my heart.
Yeah.
And then I was moved to another great assignment, St. Peter's in River Edge, in which, like, during those years, I had the opportunity to minister that community with my wonderful pastor, who really taught me about collegiality, inclusiveness, to be a listener, and just to work as a team and to delegate. So I think those two, I mean, my first experience, I was, you know, St. Thomas was very short, so I didn't get much there. But Montclair and River Edge, St. Cassian's and St. Peter's were really those two who shaped me, the priest I am today. So all that coupled with my life, my experience, my school education, I'm bringing it to St. Patrick's, and that's what I'm offering. That's what I'm bringing to the table to work as a team. My family lives here. I have 3 wonderful, you know, to my nephew and my 2 nieces. They're, you know,
They're so cute.
they're twins.
They're adorable.
They're so cute.
They're cute after only for an hour. After that, it's something else. No, my mom lives here too. My sister, my brother-in-law, they all lived in, you know, West Jersey. So my family's around. I can say I'm a joyful priest, and it has been, you know, challenges in those 10 years, like everything, especially the last couple of years, but wonderful years, really, you know, meaningful, searching in life, you know.
I remember our conversation in the chapel, I think one of the first days that you were moving your things in, And I remember I said to you, in the midst of all the stuff I said to you, I remember I said to you, Father, congratulations on your baby. This is your first baby. This is your
my first
first,
baby.
I know that like an assignment as a priest, when you're a vicar or, assistant, like it's different. Here, this is where you can fully just kind of like take reign over,
Yep.
and not just St. Patrick's, because St. Patrick's is conjoined with St. John's as well,
Yeah.
which is Newark's largest soup kitchen, for those that don't know. They serve
For
sometimes,
40 years.
Yeah.
More than 40 years.
They serve over 400 meals a day. And I've done job interviews and I've said, oh yeah, my pastor, works with what? St. John's. Oh my God, we love St. John's.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing how much it impacts the community. So coming here to St. Patrick's, you get like a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
You don't just get, this great diverse community. You also get the entire Newark homeless population.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it is. It makes me think of Dan. Danny.
Yes.
It's the first time I'm in an urban parish. Always have been in the suburbs, in the neighborhoods, but something that caught my attention is like even those that we call homeless, sometimes they are like with a label and like dangerous people and all that. But if we think about for the moment what homeless means, is so painful for any human person to have that experience of being homeless, like not having shelter or a roof or a piece of something which like you can just go and sleep properly.
Yeah.
But I think of this then, even the homeless, all these people who sleep at nights outside in the church and, around the cathedral or the Pro-Cathedral, and they introduce themselves and they say, I have been around for all these years. I love that after Mass on Sundays, people interact with them. They interact with people. They know them. And I wish I can just resolve the issue, like putting them into a place, but that's, it's complicated. But even the familiarity, like the connection.
Yeah.
And so if I pass, I'm walking, I say, hey, Dan, how you doing? Hey, Father, how you doing? It's great. That's a sign of God that even they are not in the best place at the moment in their lives with living arrangements, but it's some dignity that we all have, just looking at the eyes of somebody and call it by the name. And,
Absolutely.
So I think one of the most important things is your name.
Absolutely.
You have been given a name, and I mean, personally, when I'm called by my name, it means a lot. It's somebody who just really embraced me and that.
Yeah, and that's really important. I think that, like, I know as a social worker, when people are stripped of their identity, it really, it gets to your core. Like, this is who you are. And I'm going to say something a little off topic, but like girls, when they do a breakup, right? Like, let's talk about girls when they break up with a guy. First thing they do is they cut their hair. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, why'd you cut your hair? Because I got rid of the guy, I got rid of the hair. It's like, they identify parts of themselves with other aspects of their life. And so losing your home, losing your spouse, losing your kids, losing your finances, all of these losses that people struggle with through life are a lot of the issues that you're going to be, that I'm sure you've already been exposed to at St. John's.
Absolutely. Like this morning, it was like, broke my heart that these people, I was just trying to get here because I have, this series of meetings. And it's just a person who just arrived to the country just only 2 weeks ago. And, we could provide some, first aid at the clinic, but then, I need a job, I need a place to sleep, I need and this is, when you see them beautiful people, like very well put together, and then it says like, I have only 2 weeks in this place where I'm staying. So I start to get, my day goes like, yes, I need to take care of this, and that, but there are moments in the middle of all these things that are this round, odds and ends that I'm doing, that I think for a second, like, what can I do? And it frustrates me a little bit. But it's teaching me more, and I think it's gonna teach me more as I get involved with St. John's. Like all the stories you hear, like you get like a pile of things in less than half hour.
Yeah.
Like I mean this.
And they're all
morning.
serious things. It's
They're-
not just,
exactly.
and it's not just like,
Serious
oh, you know,
things.
I broke up with. No, it's like, yo, I lost my job, I lost my home, my kid's about to
Yeah.
get taken into DIFUS,
Yeah,
and
I
need
have
food.
to come here and eat
It's like,
food.
wow.
And I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. I don't know, but my own meditation and prayer, I think, is what is gonna help me to understand what life is.
Yeah.
You know, and how difficult some people go through situations. But yeah, definitely is something that assignment is an opportunity. It's an exposure.
Yes.
It's an exposure
Yeah.
for good, a good positive exposure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a really, I know for me, like you mentioned that this person recently immigrated here. I'm an immigrant, like, you know, and I know that
I'm an immigrant.
And I know that it's really hard when I think back to, or not even think back, I don't have to think back, when I think of my mom who can't communicate, you know.
Like the same, like for me,
like
my
in
mother
English.
doesn't,
And to think of my mother being displaced, because I don't like the term homelessness, you know. I think it's such a degrading term.
Yes,
like,
it
oh,
is.
you're homeless. Oh no. Like, oh, I hate it. I remember in college, I think it was in grad school. My professor says, don't say homeless. It's a little degrading. Use the word displaced. They're currently displaced. Because I think it gives them more dignity, right? Because it's like you're gonna have.
That's
a home.
what I was saying
It's in
before.
transition,
You know, like everyone is just like it's a label. Homeless is a negative,
connotation.
Connotation to it, and no, it shouldn't be like that. You know, we're all responsible for one another, and we try to the best we can, and that's why we need to be active Christians in the world. You know, fighting for social justice, you know, bringing the Eucharist out into the public arena.
Amen.
It's like justice for all. And it's not always going to work out. It's not always going to be perfect. But I really believe that we are, during these days, to stand for what we believe. And we really need to speak up and stand by what for what the gospel asks us to be. And it's a struggle. It's managing. It's finding the way. Sometimes you can speak up. Sometimes you know silence is the best way to navigate things. But we all have to do something. We have to be active, and we have to let our voices be
the
heard.
Apostolic Church.
Yes,
the Apostolic Church. You know, the church that's in communion and in action. Like you can't be a stagnant church, right?
Yeah.
And you can only take a seat when you're watching coffee.
And on that topic, like you're very much about like putting love, putting the gospel into action. Like you told us already, like your favorite saint, but what is your favorite saint? How has he inspired you as a priest?
My favorite saint is Saint Oscar Romero, and it is the only saint that I have been blessed and privileged to be in his canonization.
Wow.
Oscar has become like a real inspiration and to fight for social justice and but also to be present and to be real in your life. Oscar Romero was somebody who was always real, and even with his peers, with his friends, with his priests, he was who he was. He was really open, and he really, with Father Rutilio Grande, who just started his process to make a great team, and they really gave their lives for the people from El Salvador, you know, for all the poor people. They confronted the government. They weren't afraid to speak up. And sometimes I feel like these days we're afraid to speak up, you know, even to say, you know, I stand by this, I stand by that, or even to enter into a discussion with somebody about issues. But Oscar Romero was that person who was the voice of the voiceless. And he really was into people's lives and really support them. He didn't resolve their issues, but he walked the journey with them.
And I think that's the biggest misconception. And I do want to say that, because I think that or I've witnessed how sometimes we can be overwhelmed by so many problems that come at us. You know,
Correct.
like you said,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
in 30 minutes, like I can hear some really serious things,
Mhm.
and it's like, what do I do now? And it's like, you've done so much already. Like all you had to do was listen. You know how much you alleviated that mom's heart by having someone listen to her that probably hasn't listened to her in months, or. And I know that listening is really not an action, but in reality, you're helping heal the heart, in my opinion. And so, if you can feed them, amen, please do. Give them food. But if you can listen to them, like, also do that. Like, that is also very important. And I don't think that that's given as much credit as it should be.
Hmm. Yeah, and Saint Benedict says the same thing as Drew. Like the first thing is that listen with the ear of your heart,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the beginning of love is to listen to the other. You know, like imagine like a couple where they have an issue, but if they don't listen to each other, they can't resolve it. A lot of times, like people come to you with an issue not to solve it, but just to hear them out, to walk with them. Exactly like you
Walk
were
with them,
saying.
yeah.
And one of my favorite spiritual writers of this century, Richard Rohr, said like one of the big problems that we have as a culture or as a generation is lending an ear. And you only find out and you only train yourself on that when you are in relationship, when you are in connectedness,
Yep.
when you lending an ear is not only hearing something. You know, I can hear many things.
Yes. Yes.
But when you listen something is that connections between the intellect and the heart, and you put it together. And not lending an ear is not accepting all what you receive, but eventually there is this constant transformation and conversion in your heart that it renews your mind and it renews your life and it renews, and you say, hey, listen, you know, I think, oh gee, I don't think it's as I thought it was. You know, it's different. I think now this person is helping me to understand this, or is helping me to understand that. So that's a beauty. That's Christ.
Yeah.
That's spirituality. We need to look at faith and those. It's not the only way. I'm not telling you how to do it, but I consider that that's one of the most effective ways to do it today. We need to lend an ear, listen to the other person, and eventually you don't lend an ear, but you lend your heart.
Amen.
You know,
Yeah.
it gets to a point that it's not only that you listen to them, your heart is always open to whomever. You know, it's not only those in need, not your parishioners, but your friends, your family.
Yeah.
You know, your loved ones, even to those that you cannot deal with them. You know,
Absolutely.
like so
You
which
become
is-
in tune with someone.
Yeah, you know, like
In
it
tune
is
with the rhythm.
their whole thing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Father, with that, I hope that you become in tune with the rhythm here, but not in terms of just listening to us, but that we may also listen to you, that we may also hear you with the ears of our heart, you know, as our pastor and as our shepherd. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel already blessed and just listening to all for what is it, like 10 days that I
Yeah.
have been here for.
About, yeah.
Yeah, August 1st was my first
Oh
day.
my God,
so
yeah, 10 days.
Like a 10, of course. Listening to the stories, listening to what you have to say, all the work that has been done for you. You're such a young staff and great and vibrant, and we're going to continue working on that. But thinking about all those lives and stories of so many since 1850 here at St. Patrick's that we opened the doors of this church, and St. John's from 1826.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, even 30
1826.
years previous to St. Patrick's.
Wow.
So when I look at the walls and the columns and the stained glass windows, I just see the faces of people. That's unrecognized faces, unknown faces that are known to God.
Yeah.
And one of the most beautiful pictures that is in my room of Oscar of Romero is they paint like this water, you know, what is water paint, colorful, and in his glasses, in his eyeglasses, in his lenses,
Mm-hmm.
you can see the reflection. He's smiling. He was always joyful. You can see in his lenses the faces of people, the ones who he was looking at. So that's very compelling.
Yeah.
To see
Yeah.
when you start to see through the lenses of all,
Absolutely.
through the eyes of other people. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Father, this is it for tonight's episode. But do you want to leave us with a word of wisdom from our new pastor?
A word of wisdom. Yeah, it's just part of a prayer that I was attributed to Romero by Bishop Ken Antoner, and it's towards the end when he says we're not messiahs, we are, just ministers. We are not master builders. We are workers of the vineyard. We are prophets. We are prophets of the future, a future that is not our own. But we are planting the seeds, and we are watering the seeds that we already planted. So that's what I will say. That's my, kind of like line, and everything that is happening, that I'm hearing, that I'm becoming familiar, I think of those terms, the seeds that were already planted and we're watering, and those seeds that we're planting now, for the future. We don't know if we will collect the fruits of it.
Yep.
But we know that in God's time,
Yeah.
it will be, the moment. So thank you very much for having me, and I'm excited, and I hope it's not the last time.
No, of course not. We'll definitely bring you on for more stories and for everything. But thank you for joining us this week for our episode of Coffee and Cocoa.
And I hope to see Oscar's picture here.
We'll put up
as well.
Oscar.
Saint
So
Oscar
we've said this
Romero.
before on the podcast, but we have saints that are personal to us on this wall. So we're gonna put Oscar up soon. We're gonna find a nice icon or image of him and put it up right here.
Very good.
So,
Yeah.
but thank you again
see
for
good
joining
ones.
us.
All right.
All right.
We'll be
Very
back
good.
next week.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.